questions, and those can be specifically about what we were discussing. It could also be, just anything in general. So, yeah, I'm going to let everybody join in here. And while we're waiting, if everybody could just pop into the chat and let me know your name and what business you're with, and kind of let everybody introduce themselves. If you can just type that into the chat section. Awesome. Thank you for doing that, Alex and Sonia. Okay, I haven't had anybody else pop in yet, so I'll go ahead and get started, and then as anybody joins in, I'll let those folks in, and we'll go ahead and get to it. So when we're talking about end of the year financials, there are a lot of different ways of going about pulling a financial report in Zen Planner, and some of them are going to have different numbers than others. Like you're not going to necessarily get the same total if you look at all bills due within a certain month versus all payments within a certain month. So what I'm going to show is just some simple ways of pulling a financial report that gives you all of your past year's data. And I would encourage you to just start with a basic new report. Um, you can go into this new report button on your dashboard, and there's a lot of different financial options. You've got several different bills reports, but we'll start with just the payments report. And you can do a few different things on here as far as how to visualize this and how to put things together. Um, some people will want to go quarterly, and you can do that. You can set up, a date range where you're going, from the first of the year up until um, the first of the next quarter, and that's totally an option. Um, One thing that you can do here is type in just anything before first of the following quarter. So you're just getting the first quarter's data. And with payments reports, you're always going to want to make sure to include this status as approved filter here, just so you're not also pulling in declined payments or things where there was an error in your report. So if you're looking to pull something that just shows the first quarter's data, this is going to give you that, and you can break it up by quarter. And all the different grouping options I'm going to show you, you can do the same thing if you're pulling this quarterly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to really simplify it and just pull one report for the previous year. So you can just type in last year. The system's going to recognize that, and it's going to give you everything from 2024. And this is just going to give you like a lump total. It's just going to give you, okay, here's everything that you did in the previous year. Now, the thing that you probably want to do is break this up by some manner. The lump total is nice, but breaking it up into something that's going to give you a little more insight might be helpful. So um, I'll show you a few different options here. One is payment method. So payment method is just the type of payment that somebody used. And this is going to give you a little bit more detailed of a breakdown. Now, I'm using a test database just for demonstration purposes, right? And so I only get things that were marked as paid offline, like the mark as paid option. I don't get the full spectrum of payment methods here. But if you break this up in your system, you're probably going to see all the different credit card types, bank account, cash, check, however it is that you took payments over the past year, you're going to get that at the bottom summary. And you might have noticed I'm always going down to the summary info, and I can look through all the individual payments here in this detailed format. Um, you know, I've got over 2,000 records here, so it's quite a lot. And that's why I'm just going down to the summary at the bottom, because I really just want to know, this information here. And another option is that you can export this little download symbol. You'll also see it at the top of the screen. It's going to allow you to export a CSV file, and that's going to go out to Excel. And you could run the same kind of totals there, right? You could pull that. What I sometimes recommend doing is to go ahead and download that so you've got all the data. But then on that same file, what you can do is you can just copy this. You can just use your cursor to highlight it. And then you can copy this and paste it over onto your Excel file. So you've already got the totals in there and you don't have to run all those formulas manually. Now you're going to see the summary. It's going to tell you this summary is not accurate. That's only in the case that you have over 2,000 payments total. So if you've had under that, the summary is going to give you exactly what you need. Um, if you do have over 2,000, that's a situation where you'd want to, pull this out onto Excel. And that's why breaking it up into these categories is so helpful. I'm going to switch it back to the pages format so that we can scroll a little easier. So this cash and mark as paid, it's going to group this data together so that when you export this, it's going to make it a lot easier to total these up on the Excel side or Google Sheets or whatever it is you use. But either way, whether you go payment method, um, there's several other options though. You can go with payment month if you just want to get maybe a little more simplified, just something where it's like, okay, I just want to total up every month individually, not too concerned about payment method. You can do that. You can also get a little bit more detail. This is going to give you, you'll see January on this first page, and then February. It's just going to group all of the payments together. You can also mess with the sorting. So if you want to know, okay, I do want to break it up by month first, but I also want to, break it up by payment method within the month. You can do that. You're just going to adjust the sort by, and you're going to sort it by payment method first. And then you can add back in that payment date. So that way within each payment method, you'll get the earliest first. Just keep it nice and clean and well organized. Something like this is going to give you those months broken up, but then it's going to group the payment methods together within the month. And then you could total up the monthly total. You could have that in one column or row on Excel or Google Sheets, and then you can have the payment method totals within the month on another, so you could get really detailed there. So as far as payments reports goes, for yearly financials, breaking it up by payment method or payment month is probably the best way to go. There are a lot of other grouping options. You can take a look at all of those and see, does something there make sense? Like, is there a type of report I would want to put together that, breaks up my payments for the year by something else? But payment method and payment month are your go-tos there. Um, the other main report I'll show is the bills report. And this is kind of the mirror image of the payments report. Whereas the payments report gives you the records of all the payments made, this is giving you the records of all the bills. Now, with the bills report, there's one thing that's a little less straightforward. You see this due date field. Um, Now I can use this and it's going to show me all the bills that were due in a certain time. So if I put in due date is last year, not last month, but last year, this is going to show me all the bills in my system that were due last year. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that all of these bills were paid last year. So, if you had any bills that were due on the 31st that anybody paid after that, so on the 1st or 2nd, or maybe still unpaid as of today, uh, those are still going to show up because I'm looking for things with the due date of last year. And likewise, if I had anything due early in the year that anybody paid early, if they paid for something in 2023 that was due in early January 2024, that could also show up here. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. It's just a different way that the data is going to show up. Now, as far as how to rectify that, if you're like, okay, I don't want to look at this like that. I want to know everything I actually made. Um, that's easy. You just need to switch it to paid date. So paid date is going to just pull things that were actually paid in the date range you're specifying. So if I pull paid date is, I keep saying last month. Let's go last year with the year as a whole. Paid date is going to just show you things that were actually paid last year, regardless of the due date. And I think that makes a little more sense to me intuitively, regardless of when it was due, what did I actually make last year? Um, as long as you are consistent with this, like if you are pulling 2024's data, looking at things that were paid last year, you'll just want to do the same thing the following year. Um, so that's as far as the criteria goes, what I would recommend, either using paid date or due date, just depending on what makes more sense to you. Um, but by pulling these, this right here, paid days last year, that should specify just things that are paid. If you're looking at due date, you'll probably also want to include the status filter. And you're going to want to include status is not unpaid. Now, I do that instead of status is paid, just so that if I have any partially paid bills, I can also account for that revenue. So not only things that are fully paid, but also things that are partially paid. That's why I do status is not unpaid. And that's going to give me, another kind of lump sum total here. By default, the system shows me amount due and amount unpaid. Um, you can change that, what shows up in that summary in the edit report settings as well. It's not just for grouping and sorting. You can also control what shows up there. So what you can do is you can also include um, tax amounts. So that's one thing that you're going to see on this bills report that is really helpful. If you do want to, if you have specific tax rates that you've included and that breaks out, in everything that you do, like you've added the tax rates to your memberships, if you need to report on that separately, you can include that. You can also do amount paid if that makes more sense than amount unpaid. Um, and then you can just, compare the difference between the totals there. Um, and so, you'll see tax amount, tax to amount. I believe tax amount is, and you'll see these in your system if you ever forget, which tax represents what. Down here in tax rates in the financial section of your system, you'll see tax one is your services tax, tax two is your retail tax. Um, and so if that's applicable to your system, that's where you'll see that. Um, so yeah, this breaks up several different ways as well. The main thing that the bills report offers that you won't see on the payments report is income category, and that can be really useful. So income category, that's just how you've set things up to break apart in your system. Um, class tuition versus personal training versus retail, however many income categories you're actually using, that's going to give you uh, that option. So when you see class tuition here, it's all I've got. Again, it's a test database, so we don't have a ton of different things that are set up, but you'll probably note if you go into your lookup code section and you look at your income categories, you'll probably actually have, a bunch of different stuff on that report if you break it up by income category. You're going to have, everything that you did broken up by that. And so again, if you've got more than 2,000 records, you'll want to take this out to Excel and do this summary. But if you've got less, um, this is super easy because you can just copy and paste this summary at the bottom. But either way, you can break up by income category here on the bills report. Um, and there's a bunch of other things you're going to see here. There's also due month. Again, like the payments report has due or payment month, um, the bills report has due month. So you can see, okay, here's everything that was due in January 1st. And then you'll see February and so on. And so you've got the same options. You can break up by due month, and then you can sort it by the income category within the month. And then you can pull that paid date in here to make it chronological within those categories. So you've got the same options there, and it just depends on what makes the most sense. You're going to see, um, I've broken this up by due month, so that summary at the bottom looks a little bit different. Um, and I think this is still giving you the month. It shows it by the actual date, like January 1st. I'm pretty confident this is going to pull everything within that month. And one option, if you do want to use those summary totals, this is the last thing I'll mention on these basic reports before I open it up for any questions, is that you can go by month or by quarter in order to get that summary total at the bottom um, to be accurate. So if you just want to use those, if you're like, I don't really, I'm not too familiar with Excel, I don't feel like putting those totals together with formulas. You could just put this together with quarters. So you could go, January 1st, 2024, um, up through the end of the quarter, so before April 1st. And let's see if this gets us down below. Yeah, this gets us down to a lower number of records. And now you're going to see, these summary totals are going to be precisely accurate because I've got less than 2,000 records. So it's not just showing me a preview. So that's one option. If you like the report, but you've got more than 2,000
Hello.
records on it and you don't feel like going to Excel,
Давай.
um, you can just break it up by that. So you can do it quarterly. If the quarterly option still
Ну,
gives
я
you
в
more,
клубе этот,
you could always break it
обучение
up by one
есть,
month or
программе
maybe 2 months. Um,
для клуба.
so yeah, that's how you do it, and it's pretty straightforward. Um, these reports are really basic and should give you a pretty easy um, way to reconcile those financials at the end of the year. There are other options, of course, like there's memberships show bills, there's bills show payments. There's quite a few different options here for additional reports that have more specialized purposes, but for the most part, I think you'll find that either the payments report or the bills report lets you put together any kind of financial that you're trying to do for the end of the year. And there's also things like, you know, payroll if you want to put together, like yearly payroll data. Um, I'll mention that as well before I open it up. I know I said I would, but I just want to give you this last thing here. And this payroll report in the test database is probably not going to be the most accurate thing, and it's taking a second to load. But yeah, you'll see, we're not actually using this database to pay people. So you're going to see, this is back to 2019. But if this was current and you were using the payroll features, what you'd actually be able to do is go through all of your closed pay periods, and you can pull that CSV file that'll give you everybody's pay breakdown, and you could put together a yearly total with that if you wanted to do something like that for your payroll as well. Um, so yeah, a couple different options to put together nice and simple end of the year financials. Um, and so yeah, I'll open it up if anybody has any questions about how to put together those kind of things. Um, that's going to uh, be something I could answer for you. And you can either come off mute and ask. You could also throw it in the chat. That's totally fine. If nobody has any questions, I'll give it a little bit of time for anybody to ask. I can show a couple different little tricks as well if you want to stay afterward. But yeah, I'll open it up for anybody who's curious about any questions on running financial reports, especially for like a year in review kind of thing. It could also be general stuff. Doesn't necessarily have to be specific to what we were talking about.
Hi, I have a question. So, can you just like
Sure,
show like different ways how you can look on all the reports, like just like um, where you can find, right? So like I was trying to following you, but it's a little bit was like quickly. So you have like different
sure.
ways how you can find them. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, the payments report, just to go over that again. Um, the payments report, let's just put something back together for this. So, if we're looking at the year as a whole, um, or actually, let's zoom in. Let's just go January 2024. So January last year. Um, Now, on the payments report, you always want to include status is approved. Make sure that you just get those approved payments. You're not getting declines or errors in there. Um, But for January, we do get like a lump total at the bottom here. And if you just need to know how much did I make in January, I don't need to break it up by any factor or anything like that. I just need my revenue. You've already got it. This right here, you could just copy that out to Excel. You could just make a line, January, paste that in. So it could be as simple as that. But if you need to know something a little more detailed, like how much did I make for cash versus credit card versus EFT, bank accounts, that's where you want to group it by the payment method. And that's here in edit report settings. That's where you're going to find your group by options, your sort by options, as well as your columns, what fields you actually have on the report that are showing. Um, and that's where you can actually break this up. So you'll see, now it's broken up by the Marcus paid. And I think maybe everything in the month is Marcus paid. So it only shows me one. But if I had cash, if I had credit transactions, those would be separate line items here, and you would get those separate totals. So yeah, it's really just a matter of deciding, do I just need the most simple total I could get? And then in that case, it's just about setting up your criteria to cover the date range that you want to pull, whether it's the full year, quarterly, monthly, um, and making sure to include just improved transactions, or if you want to do it, in some more complex way. Um, but yeah, you're going to access all of that in edit report settings. That's where you're going to see your group by options, as well as your sort by options. And the bills report is the same way. Um, if you're putting together a bills report. And again, I think paid date makes the most sense. So I'm pulling, all the bills paid last January. And again, I'm using edit report settings, and then I see my group by options. I recommended income category here. I think that makes a lot of sense as far as how to break up your financials. You know, it shows you your totals for each category that you've set things up in. And you might just have all your memberships in one category. They might all just be class tuition or membership dues. But if you did any retail sales, if you did any special events, any equipment, stuff like that, you're going to see a total for that as well. So again, it's the same basic um, step there. It's just opening up edit report settings after you have your criteria set up how you'd like them. And then, yeah, just including your group by choice, as well as anything additional you want to add on here, like, tax amounts, if that's something you include. Um, so stuff like that. And then Again, the download symbol, that's going to open up where you can pull that CSV file, and that's going to be your actual data sheet that you can take out to Excel or Google Sheets, and you can run, some formulas on this if that's something you'd want to do. Um, there's a lot of other ways you could go about doing this, a lot of other, ways to group things together. Like you could look at, how did this break up by person? And that's a little bit more of something where you change more than one factor. So you change the group by to full name, and then you'll probably want to change your format to totals. Let's just see. I want to make sure. Yeah, and this is an interesting option because it allows you to look at your financials by the person. Um, so if you wanted to put something together like this for the year, um, so let's just say last year, this is something that can be really useful if you want to look at your income per member. That's a pretty important metric that a lot of people like to use. They like to look at, how much money am I making on a yearly basis per member so that I can know, what is the average if I add, you know, 20 more members at the average yearly income that I'm making per member, how much could I grow my income? This is something that can allow you to do that. And you can take this report and you'll see there's no download symbol. You can't download these directly. But this is an accurate total on the right. And so this one is one of those that you can just click and drag your mouse, your cursor, um, get all this information highlighted, and then you can copy this and take this out to Excel and have a nice data sheet. So that's
Mhm.
one option that's a little more out of the ordinary as far as how you can put together financials for the previous year. But yeah, it really all starts with setting up your criteria in a way that will work for you. Um, and
I have
again,
like
if you're using due date, just make sure to include status is not unpaid.
I have like one more question related, like
Sure.
it's
Yeah,
the
no
last
problem.
thing you showed me. So it's pretty maybe silly, but I'm just like starting like like implement in the club this system. And I have a question. If I have like kids, right, and then I have like household holder member, right? So how is like the best way to keep the track financial part? Like it's like maybe like more technical question about should they like bill like the kid or like create the bill for kid or like create the bill for like householder member. So
Yeah, no,
that's a
that's
little
a
bit
good
different,
question.
right? So
Well, I think what I would typically recommend in that situation is to take advantage of our family grouping tools. So, um, if you have, um, families in the system, you've got kids and then a householder, you can group them up as a family. And what that's going to allow you to do is you can put memberships on the individual people. So James here, let's just pretend James is a kid. James can have his own membership, his own billing. This is going to show, that it's a bill for James for his membership. But because it's grouped up as a family, all of these bills are going to also sit on Amy's account as the head of household. So what's going to happen when those bills are due, let's just pretend that they're all due on the first. Those are all going to group together under Amy's payment method, and you're going to be able to see, all the financials here, John's bills, Josh's bills, everybody who's part of this family, their bills are all going to live on Amy's profile. And the nice thing with this is that everybody can have their own separate membership, their own separate billing, but you can set them all up to pay with whatever financial options are on Amy's account. So if this account is on Amy's profile, you're going to be able to assign auto pay to all the memberships with that, and you can just go to the householder's profile to pull that information. So I would say, group them up as a family, and that's going to make it a lot easier to just assign out everybody's membership. They'll all have their own individual membership. Um, it is another option to just have one membership that is shared between them. So that's another thing you could do. It just depends on how you need things to work. Because if you're doing any kind of like classes or things where you need to track people's attendance individually and you need their membership, like let's say they all have a membership that gives 2 classes per week, right? In that situation, you probably want each person to have their own membership. Um, because in that case, you'd want them all to have their own limit. Everybody gets 2 classes per week. It's not they're not all sharing 2 classes per week. That would be a situation where you want everybody to have their own individual membership. You can see in this case, this whole family has, a family membership, and you can see that because it says it's shared. And membership sharing is pretty easy. You just have to have everybody joined into the family first, and then, you can add that membership to the head of household, and you'll just click where it says shared with. It's going to say 0 people at first, but then you can add another person. You can add them in, and you'll see everybody who's in the family, and you can, share it with all of them. You can also remove people, if somebody wants their own membership down the road. Um, so you've got a lot of options here as far as, how you can share that or unshare that between the family. So, if it's just an unlimited membership and there's not like a specific program where you need to track people's attendance for progression, like in martial arts, um, you know, that's going to be the kind of thing where they can all share one. Um, but to get even more basic, like to join people into the family, like if you don't already have this put together, um, you're just going to start with whoever you want to be the head of the household. Um, so this person here, we would just go in, we'd go to their profile, we'd go to more actions. Or actually we would we would make sure we've got their profile built out first. So we'd get them in there. And then there's 2 ways to do it. You can either click this add button, and then you can just add new profiles, like if they're not already in the system. That's how you would go about it to add additional family members. You just click that plus symbol on the family menu. If they're already in the system, though, you'd want to find them first. Like let's say this person, we're gonna join them into that family. And now they're already part of a family, but let's just pretend that they weren't. You would click this more actions button. You'd click move to a new family. Then you'd check mark that person. Um, here it's already a family, but you would just see them. You would choose, okay, are we going to keep this payment account that they have? It might be the same payment account that the parent or householder already has. And if that's the case, you don't need an extra copy of it, so you don't need to move it. Um, and then you're just going to select, which family are they joining in. Um, and you can actually type right here, and it should allow you to pull that up. Um, I'm looking for my let's just pretend we were moving it into this family. Uh, then we're just going to click change family, and it's going to move this person into that family where that person is the head of household. So if it's a new person, again, you just go to the head of household and click that plus symbol from there. If you've already got everybody in the system, but you just need to connect them as a family, then you're going to go to everybody else and you're going to move them into the head of household's family. So yeah, just a matter of getting people joined up as family, and then you have the option of either sharing a membership amongst them, or they can all have their own individual memberships, but the head of household's payment method can be attached to everybody in the family. So that would be my suggestion is use those family features as much as you can.
Yeah, gotcha. So, and then if we going back to statistic, right? So, let's say I have a householder who's like responsible for all payment, right? And then it's gonna be connect to like the like family member. Let's say like one of the kid has a like like membership, right? So, but the parent doesn't have any membership, right? So, and then statistics show me his name, the kid name, or like the family name, who is a householder when its transaction is over. So, doesn't make sense. Like, oh, like, did you get it? Like, I mean, like, how can I
Yeah,
see?
like
Yeah, I would like to see like all kids, or like all names, like all members, and it's gonna be kids. They did payment, right? I don't want to see like parents paid, because it's like, all like statistic in mind, like, like
mhm,
Excel is just mostly kids and groups and everything.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at a payments report
Yeah,
and you're putting this together, like if the kid has a membership and they're, even if it's the parent who's paying for it, you
yeah,
should see that the person who paid is the kid because it was their membership. One option that you could do is use this memberships show bills report. And this one is going to actually show you like which membership a person had when they got charged. So if you were trying to use something like this for like yearly financials, um, what you could do is you could pull, let's just pretend it was, January 2024, if we put this together. Um, this is going to show me all of the membership bills that were paid in that month. And, even if it's a kid's membership and the parent is the one paying for it, you're going to see in here, like it was the kid's membership. And it would actually tell you, like, if you have a specific membership for kids that you use, it's going to show you that. Um, and so maybe that was what you were looking for, is just some way to, pull the report and have it show, whose membership actually was it, whose bill actually was it, whether the parent is paying or not.
okay, okay, got it. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and that should allow you to see, regardless of whether the parent is the one who's handling the bills, this will show you, okay, it was the kid's membership. Well, cool. Hey, I appreciate you having some good questions there. And yeah, we're going to be going through a lot more of these as the year goes on. We've got a pretty solid plan for these put together. Next week we are going to get into referrals. So how you can keep track of people who are referred by other members, how you can set up systems and reports to look at who's doing the most referrals if you want to have some kind of incentive or rewards for that. Just easy, simple ways to keep track of referrals and build in kind of that referral incentive program into your system. So yeah, we'll get into that next week. Then the week after that, we'll be talking about how to get leads into your system. So, our lead capture tools, how to add new profiles manually, just the real kind of basics of getting leads in there and how they enter the system. So, keep an eye on that sign up page and look out for that. And I believe if you go to the same page where you signed up for this week, you can also sign up for next week and maybe even the week after that. But yeah, just keep an eye on that one. You'll see the topic and then you can sign up for that. But hey, I appreciate everybody making it. And yeah, I hope you'll have a great rest of your day and a great start to the year.
Yeah, and then we can find the like video, right?
Yes.
The this it's gonna be
Yeah,
somewhere.
we should be putting this up on the Zen Planner YouTube. I believe we put it up there. Now I'll see if we can get some kind of notification out to everybody who attended that the recording is available.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks. Have a great rest of your day.